We're going to finish up this school year solving equations. Now, an equation is any type of math problem that has an equal sign in it. So here are 3 examples of different equations. Notice they all have equal signs. There's a reason why the word equation and equals sound similar. It's because an equation has to have an equal sign in it. So what our goal is today is to find what the variable equals. In this case, n. Figure out what n equals. A, E. Remember, a variable just stands for a number that we don't know yet. And then we have to do some math work to solve for the variable. Now, there are a lot of equations that you can solve by simply doing mental math. And I know a lot of you guys can figure out these doing mental math. However, very soon you guys are going to come up on equations that are too difficult to figure out just using mental math. You're going to need to do some work to solve for these unknown variables. The work that you need to show to solve for an unknown variable is called inverse work. Okay, inverse is kind of like the word opposite or reverse. The inverse is just doing the opposite of the operation you see. If you see addition, you'll use subtraction to reverse it. If you see multiplication, you'll use division to reverse it. We're going to be using inverses here. All right, so looking at equation number 1, the equal sign is kind of like a wall. We have all the numbers and variables on the left side of the wall and then the number on the right side of the wall. Our goal is to get n by itself, isolate the n. If I cover up this plus 5 with my finger, do you guys see how n is all by itself on the left side of the wall? N equals 18. If we can get rid of this plus 5, then we'll have our answer. Now, how do we get rid of a plus 5? Well, we just have to do the inverse or the reverse of adding 5. The opposite or inverse of adding 5 is subtracting 5. Now, what you do on one side of the wall, you have to do the exact same on the other side of the wall to keep the equation balanced. Now, a positive 5 and a minus 5, those two will cancel each other out. And what we'll be left with is n equals, n is now all by itself on the left side. 18 minus 5 will give us our answer. And we're finished. And I've got the inverse work to show how I did the problem. Let's look at example 2. A plus 5 equals negative 11. Here's my wall. Okay, the equal sign is like a wall. Now I want to get A all by itself. If I cover up this plus 5 with my finger, A is all alone. So if I get rid of the plus 5, then I'll have solved the problem. Again, what's the inverse of adding 5? The exact opposite. Subtract 5 on one side of the wall, you have to subtract 5 on the other. A 5 minus 5 cancels. Now A is by itself all on the left side of the wall. Okay, and here we have a negative 11 and a negative 5. Same signs add. They're both negative, so I'm going to add 11 plus 5 is 16. And then you always keep the sign of the larger number. My larger number is 11, and it has a negative in front of it, so my final answer is a negative 16. Okay, last example. I'll draw a wall for my equal sign. I want to get E by itself. Notice if I cover up this negative 5 plus, E is all alone on the left side of the wall. What's the opposite of a negative 5, or I guess a minus 5? The opposite of a negative is a positive 5. Positive 5. Okay, a negative 5 and a positive 5, those will cancel each other out. Now E is by itself on the left side of the equal sign. And doing this math will give you my answer. 12 plus 5 is 17. Now you can always check to make sure if you've done an equation correctly by just plugging in your answer. So 13 is what I got. Is 13 plus 5 truly equal to 18? Yes, that checks out. Or in this case, I got negative 16 for my answer. Is negative 16 plus 5 truly equal to negative 11? Well, opposite signs subtract. 16 minus 5 is 11. Keep the sign of the larger number. Yes, this checks out. When you guys are doing your work today, I know that some of the problems are mental math. I realize that. But I want to see your inverse work because very soon you'll be facing problems that are too difficult to solve using mental math. You're going to be needing the inverse operation to get to your final answer. These three are examples of one-step equations. They're called one-step equations because you only need to do one step of work and then you've reached your answer. Very soon, like next year in math, you guys are going to be seeing equations that are maybe 4 or 5-step equations. Those equations are definitely not mental math solvable. That's why it's important to know how to do the work to get to the answer. Okay, we're going to finish today's lesson with a little bit of a challenge equation for you to solve. P minus negative 2.2 equals 5.6. Why don't you guys pause the video and try to solve this on your own? When you're done, you can play the video and see if you got it right. So the first thing I see here is a double negative. I've told you in the past, double negatives are deceiving. You should never leave your problem written with two negatives in a row. I need to rewrite this problem as P plus 2.2 equals 5.6. Double negatives always can be turned into addition problems. Okay, now that I've fixed up that double negative, I'm going to draw my wall. Now if I get rid of this plus 2.2, P will be all by itself on the left side of the wall. The opposite, or the inverse, of adding 2.2 would be subtracting 2.2. 2.2 minus 2.2 is 0, so those cancel each other out. And I'm left with P all alone on the left side of my wall equals, now I got to do a bit of subtraction to get my answer. And I get P equals 3.4. How many of you guys got that right? The double negative made that problem pretty tricky. Again, on your assignment today, I want you to show your inverse work.